Today's guest is very knowledgeable in many areas of agriculture. He's worked at soil gardens, he's worked with hydroponics, he's worked with aquaponics. He now works for a very large commercial recirculating aquaculture facility, and he's also spent a great deal of time working for a vertical microgreens farm that does most of their work out of a shipping container. He's also a former student of mine and just a dang good guy. Today's guest is Tanner Genc. Solid.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, dude. I was laughing your response to the text. I was like, dude, do you want to come on and I'm going to start a podcast. Do you want to come on? And you're like, no information. You're just like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, no, I know that you have your endeavors, so it's like, why the heck not? I'm with it.
First guest, man, and I couldn't start off any stronger. So we worked together years ago, doing some aquaponics, hydroponics stuff. I told you I wouldn't have just anybody on here. I think you're extremely knowledgeable.
Thank you.
In fact, there was a course that I taught for a long time that when I got my new job, I had you teach it, and you were 18 years old, 19 years old.
Yeah.
And that was a big boy class, and you're doing good stuff. Super smart in this space, and I think our viewers on this channel could learn so much from you. So what are some of the things that you've done? I know that you worked at a soil farm while you were doing all this other stuff too, right?
Yeah. I actually, it was a conservation effort with the Audubon Society, and we were just working on restoring native habitats. That was a really, really cool experience, especially working alongside an aquaculture farm, which is a total switch up. So it was kind of like half and half, but both centered around the idea of sustainability. That's been my big thing. I just want to see a better world and see that we can produce better food, because that's all it really comes down to. And I eventually I left both of them end of summer. I was still deciding if I wanted to go to college or not, but I ended up not, at least for the time being, and I went to a shipping container vertical farm, High Ridge Hydroponics. They were, the guy, Joe, he's freaking amazing, and he's doing great stuff over there, and he taught me everything there is to know about microgreens, and we always talk about hydroponics, more sustainable food production. I'm nowhere near an expert. I'm just dabbling in everything, but yeah, it's a good space to be in,
dude. And you've done so much as far as producing food, and I would consider you a young expert, man. Like you're so young, and you know so much about all these different areas, more than most adults. Most people in their 30s, man, that are just getting into this, they don't know half as much as you. So you're on the right track, sure, man.
Heck yeah.
I thought you worked at a soil vegetable farm.
I worked with them for a little while. I did a month with them, but eventually I just got offered a better job somewhere else, and it was just kind of I eventually one day I want to return to that, because I still am very, very passionate. I mean, I have, obviously, like everyone else, I have my own garden at home, and we're constantly doing my own thing, but I also have lots of hydroponic little systems, so it's dabbling in everything. I think everything has its place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Our viewers do a lot of different things. We have people that just do exclusively soil farms. We have people that do hydroponics. We have people that want to know about both. I want to talk about aquaponics and hydroponics first, sure. And all of our viewers know what these things are. So as far as your experiences with just hydroponic gardening, not microgreens, but just hydroponic vegetable production, what are some of the things that you've done? What are some of the things that you enjoy? What are your thoughts on hydroponics as just a methods of food production?
Yeah, I think hydroponics is going to be the future. I mean, I've always had this debate in my mind versus sustainable versus regenerative. But this is for sure where the future of food production should go, directing towards vertical farms, indoor farms, even stuff that people could do simple at home. I mean, hydroponics, it can get extremely complex, but it's also not really. I think it can go both ways. And oh man, I started doing this when I was in your class. You introduced me to all of this. And it's been what, 4 years now? 4 years I've been doing it. And as soon as I started learning about it, I started making my own systems. But of course, I made lots of mistakes. And it's just like, you just kind of have to keep going. Like after you just make a mistake, you just kind of have to scrap it, or I mean, making it better never makes it better, as we've had experience of just trying to fix something and it just doesn't work, so you just have to scrap it all. But again, I think if people were to take anything out of this, it's just trial and error, just keep going. And then after your class, after doing NFT systems, Dutch bucket systems, deep water culture, I kind of shifted it into more aeroponics. That's always what I wanted to do. I made a couple systems at home. They were all successes. It's just more so of keeping them clean. And then, yeah, it's just dabbling in everything.
You mentioned trial and error. I have a video on my YouTube channel of just like the top mistakes that people make in aquaponics specifically. I'd say most of my content is more geared towards aquaponics, but hydroponics, aquaponics, the magic of doing these things on your own is like making mistakes.
Oh yeah.
And because once you make that mistake, like once you know, oh crap, I just killed a whole fish tank, like because a tube was kinked, I'll never do that again.
Yeah, no.
Crap, my tomatoes aren't fruiting because I don't have the proper nutrients in there, I'll never do that again. Like it's just, those mistakes are what makes your farm better long term.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
I mean, and it makes you like, if anything, be more careful. So then, I mean, and there's you could say a lot of things about being more careful, because then eventually because you're going to make a mistake regardless, but then the error is just going to be more catastrophic.
Right.
But again, it's especially with aquaponics. Like hydroponics, you get a little bit more flexibility with that. Yep. But aquaponics is more so you're growing 2 live species, and I am a fan of it for hobby. I love the concept of it, and especially doing it in your class, it was phenomenal. And I'll still always love it, but hydroponics is just good for the at-home grower. It just very, very, very easy. And you can just grow produce way faster and I think better.
Yeah. One of the things that I've said on a couple of videos is growing the fish is cool. It's cool to like walk into the greenhouse and like you have the fish and you have the plants and it's just fun.
Yeah,
fun to manage both.
Oh yeah.
But if you're doing this for a business, you need to sell the fish. You can't just have them. You know?
Yeah. It's not. And then at that point is like how much you need a rotation.
Right.
Like, you need a rotation, and you need a pretty big operation. But regardless of that, before dipping into that, no, it's fun. Both are equally as fun. But again, just to harp on more trial and error.
Yeah.
So if you screw up, which I have done multiple times and a lot, you just got to keep going. You just got to do it. You go back.
Yeah.
And do it again.
You mentioned how easy hydroponics is compared to aquaponics. Which method of hydroponic vegetable production is your favorite just because of its productivity?
I think technically, productivity.
Like if you had to do one at your house and you had to feed your family with it, what would you do?
If I had to feed my family with it, then I'd go with, that's a tough one. I'd say like deep water culture. I think deep water culture is just easy because there's so many ways you can really like make the system. You don't need power per se. Like if you, again, your power went out, and let's say on an NFT system, without a pump or some other method of getting it back up to the top, or to the beginning, then there's no way that production is going to keep going. So I think deep water culture is the one that I'd go with, just because that one is easy. Like you can, I don't know if you made a video on this, the Kratky method.
Yeah, I have one. Yeah,
it works wonders, and it's so easy to do.
I actually do have one. I made one out of a food bank container.
Yeah, I remember that.
Little green container, just set it and forget it. The deep water culture method, the Kratky method, those are awesome. Like you said, it's just I love what you said about the power. Like obviously an air stone in there would just help things kind of move around a bit, but it's not needed.
Yeah, no.
Super easy, super productive. That's
Of course.
good
And
choice.
I've even seen like people do, oh, it's going to sound crazy, like compost teas out of either worm compost or just regular old compost you get from the bins. I have no idea. I've never tried it. But it seems pretty cool, at least as a concept, because hydroponic nutrients, as you know, they don't come in like organic forms. They're all salt based for the most part, at least. So I don't know. I feel like an organic. It's cool. It's diverging.
No, my dad actually, shouts out dad. He's done this compost tea thing before, and I think he just used animal manure in like a cheesecloth bag in a bucket with an air stone. And the cool part about the compost tea, well, first of all, you can use it for watering like house plants and any plants that you have that need watering.
Oh, for sure.
But the microbes double every like minute. I don't quote me on that time, but it's like it goes from like 1,000 to millions of microbes within an hour. So it's like super nutritious, super quick, and all natural.
My only concern with that is like, I don't know. The reason I'm like kind of dodgy about it is just because like disease has always been like a wonder for me. You can always get some kind of root disease and root decay. And I don't know. But whatever. That's why hydroponic nutrients are made for hydroponics, is because they're just superior. But yeah, I don't. Just some ideas if anyone wants to go off the grid.
Absolutely. Yeah, the compost tea isn't something that you want touching edible parts of your plant, but it's free, and you can actually use compost tea to get like a nitrification started.
Heck yeah.
Aquaponics too.
Yeah,
so
I've never done that, but I've heard of people doing that. So that's
it's like a aquaponic hack. Throw it in the biofilter, call it a day.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so now I have to ask you.
Yeah.
The aquaponics. Like, what is your pros and cons? We have to run through it.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're the master here.
My pros and cons of just aquaponics in general.
Just in general. Just like you doing at home.
For home use, you're talking about home use or
just do home use?
Okay, so obviously the fish management is the biggest con for the home grower, and I think that it's not like too severe of a con. It's just another, like you mentioned, the ease of hydroponics. Hydroponics by itself is so much easier. Aquaponics is just a powerful tool if you can market it correctly and sell the animals. Then it's like exponential growth, potential. You can make more money with selling both. The pros, I think, there's times where I have been growing in aquaponics with deep water culture, or I haven't done any maintenance for like 2 weeks. Like that's not a good thing to do, but I'm just being honest. Like no watering. I have done daily inspections, and it fed the animals obviously, but like there's been no cleaning. I'm in and out in 20 minutes, and this is like a 40 by 80 square foot, 40 foot by 80 foot farm. If those plants were growing in soil, like if you didn't have an irrigation system, you would have to hand water every single one. You'd have to bend down to the ground. There's just a lot more cumbersome tasks that you have to do when it's soil. But this is a pro for aquaponics. It's literally like it's just going.
Self-sustaining.
Sustaining. And fish food, and that's all you really need, and some cleaning here and there. But that's why I love it. Even if I had an aquaponics farm here, I could take a vacation. I could set it up where, I have float switches to fill water that's low. And
they even sell feed belts where the feed is scheduled for a certain time of day, and then it just constantly feeds throughout the day. So
exactly. And I really enjoy it. I have a master's in aquatic sciences. I've always liked fish and wildlife.
Yeah.
So I love the fish aspect of it. The biggest con for me, and I talked about this in a YouTube video on fish food, is just the biggest input for it is fish food, which is not really made in a sustainable way. We're killing a lot of oily bait fish in the oceans, and it's not. At the rate that this industry is growing, we're going to need to create a lot more fish food, create a lot more fish meal. And I even talked about this. If there was somebody out there who could make a method of farming like bunker or anchovies or sardines who will pelagically spawn or shellfish, and just grind them up and have like a brood stock system of one of these animals, and that could be your fish food, then the industry, then it would be untouchable. There would be zero cons to it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's focusing on these like Faroe Island raised salmon. Now, if you, and you know, there are pros and cons to sea cages, but like if you could just massively farm sustainably sourced anchovies and bait fish, it would be like, that would be something. But
Game changer.
we'll have to see that in the future.
Yeah, and I know those salmon, people do rave about them. I've seen the fat content in them. Like their meat is like, it's like the equivalent of like a Wagyu steak.
Yeah,
So much fattier, and which is desirable for
sure.
dudes like me and just cooking, culinary use. But yeah, they farm those in cages that get pretty filthy and
potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to source from a good farm, but it's more so like it's for Faroe Island salmon and like sea cage raised salmon. They're not that much, and like premium salmon, they're not that much more expensive than you'd think. Like some of these seafood places upcharge them beyond what they're worth.
Absolutely, yeah, man.
They're not that much more expensive, especially when you can get it from, you know, at least a Alaskan source or a U.S. raised source or wherever it may be. It's just kind of crazy to me, in that sense.
100%.
But aquaponics is great for a home, you know, a home dweller that just wants to do something for fun, raising 2 species at a time, which is, even from my experience and from what you've taught me, is just, it's a lot of fun. But hydroponics, if you just want to grow plants and you want to grow them, I guess, just sustainably, quickly, something that will give you produce, hydroponics is the way to go, especially the Kratky method, which you can check out Agrarian.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you're a first timer, if you don't have the knowledge of aquatic health and that sort of thing, you don't really need a whole background. But
No.
if you want an easy, reliable, and productive method of farming in your home for your family, hydroponics is the way to go.
Well, here we go. I am a 15 or 16-year-old going into your class. I was 15, and I decided to build a aquaponic system in my basement.
Love that. Smart.
The basement was probably 50 degrees constantly. I bought goldfish from the store. This is probably my first this is my first year where I only took your class like half the year. So it was just like, and I still did it. And literally, it's so easy and everyone can do it for aquaponics and hydroponics.
I love that story. I apologize to your parents, but
Yes.
that's just such a, that's just like a good life analogy. Like you start something, you like it, and you just dive right into it.
Yeah.
It's awesome that you did that. Speaking of aquaponics, so we talked about hydroponics a little bit. What are same question for you that you asked me? Like, what are some of the pros and cons of aquaponics? And then I'd like you to quickly touch about, from a business standpoint, both those industries.
Yeah, so I mean, aquaponics, again, like I said, hobby is phenomenal. I love it. But I will never get past growing 2 species at once or 2 things at once. It's kind of like focusing all your energy onto one crop will only lead you success. It's and this is for any business. It's just focusing on one thing will lead you to success.
What are some of the fish? We've toyed around with a lot of fish, and you obviously now you work at a place that raises a fish that I've never raised.
Yeah.
But what are some of your favorites as far as anything you like eating them, just ease of maintaining them? What do you like to do in aquaponics? What do you like to grow?
I'm gonna say one that I really want to grow. I want to grow trout, but I've never tasted it like in an aquaponic system. I've tasted it farm raised. I've tasted it, stocking it in the ponds. I've tasted it wild, but I don't know how it would taste. But regardless, tilapia is just the easy one. I mean, I know one guy said, one person said one time that it was a hatchery guy. He said that tilapia doesn't count. Raising fish.
Yeah.
But it's just, if you're at home aquaponics grower, it's so easy. And it produces a good product too. I mean, tilapia, especially when you're not getting it from thousands of miles away, is a pretty. It's not bad. Another thing, catfish. It's an easy one, like an easier one to raise, especially they're pretty tolerant to whatever you throw at them. Same with tilapia. But other than that, I'm still new to aquaponics, and I'm still dabbling around with it. And eventually, when I want to build my own system, and I do want to try out trout. That's like my one thing that I really want to try. But
yeah,
regardless,
yeah, there's some greenhouses in California that I know of, a really big one actually, a commercial one that raises trout.
Really?
Because their ambient temperature all year is like 70.
Yeah,
and they raise rainbow trout, who I'm understanding are a little bit more tolerant of like temperature variations. Yeah. But it is doable. Tougher, obviously, just they're sensitive little boys.
That's it. Especially like being at the place that I work now, Bronzino are so sensitive. They have to be at a certain temperature all the time. They have a certain salt level all the time. And it's just any change in the water quality, they will die. So you kind of guaranteeing without guaranteeing that our fish is the best because we can actually raise them. So Bronzino don't even consider for aquaponics, by the way.
Can we talk about the business that you work at?
Yeah. So we raise Bronzino commercially, and we sell to local restaurants. We sell to farmers markets. We sell online, and it's just a really, really cool business because we're just totally geared towards building, selling fish. And it's something that I have never experienced before, especially being in your class, just geared towards fish. I've worked in all parts of the process of raising the fish when I started to processing the fish to now selling the fish. So it's a really, really cool, it's a really cool process and a really cool business.
So people that are listening, they don't have any idea what we're talking about. My content is geared mostly towards like the home grower.
Yeah, for sure.
Stuff that's possible for you to do at home. The stuff this place does is not possible for any of us. They have a biofilter. This is the analogy that I always give people. The biofilter for this system is like the size of half of a football field. It's like 15 feet deep.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it's enormous. It's bigger than my house.
We've only grown it too. You haven't been. I don't think you've been to the new what we've done. It's kind of crazy.
The pipe diameter is like it's over a foot. It's over a foot pipe diameter.
Oh, easily. Yeah,
It might be 2 feet. How many gallons? They have a quarantine operation where they keep the fish before they introduce them to the grow out facility. How many gallons is the grow out facility?
I'm gonna say this is just the number I know. It's over. At least the grow out facility is over 600,000 gallons of water at one time. I don't know the exact number, so I'm not gonna throw it around.
Yeah. That's cool. It's insane. This place.
It is.
You do how many fish per week?
Actually, we harvest at least right now. We're pumping out over 2,000 fish per week, 1,000, 2,000 fish per week, which is kind of, it goes to show that you need to constantly be producing, like you have to understand how much space that we have to produce 1,000 to 2,000 fish per week, and how much fish that we have in the backlog, because it's kind of like what we do with hydroponics and aquaculture.
Oh, like staggering.
Yeah, staggering your plantings, and you have to think that these fish, they take a year to grow. So you can't just stagger planting like 2 weeks before like you would with microgreens or lettuce heads.
And just the technology that you guys use.
Crazy. It is crazy.
Like they use liquid oxygen, so there's no bubblers. There's just the emergency bubblers for when the computer senses that the dissolved oxygen is too low.
Yeah.
They have these denitrifying silos. So as opposed to like plants using nitrate or them just being so low that it's negligible, this facility produces tons of nitrates. So they have to have equipment to denitrify the water, and it's basically these. They look like corn silos. They're just like humongous silos.
The facility. There's like they're everywhere. Even like the small quarantine rooms that are off to the side, they have their own, and they're just tiny silos. It's like, it is crazy.
They have low head oxygenators. If you guys look up any commercial aquaculture equipment, this place has it all, man. Everything's computer monitored. You have to mix salt water though in another room. Right?
Yep. That's a whole nother thing, and you see how much salt that comes in. It's a lot of money that goes behind it. But it's for a good reason, and it's that we're producing just a better quality product. no matter where you go. Like you cannot compare any bronzino or any fish that comes out of anywhere else because we're just the better product. Right. Especially being in the middle of the state is just like you can't
New York, Boston.
Yeah, you could replicate this anywhere, and that's kind of like the idea for shipping containers and the idea for small greenhouses and trying to replicate these things to put it in big cities or abandoned places.
Exactly. That's why another reason I love these industries, because there's so many beat up factories that aren't used and like multiple levels with a lot of natural light with flat ceilings that you could hang lights on.
Oh yeah.
The whole city of Bridgeport, you could make like the biggest indoor farm in the world.
Well, I didn't know that.
No offense to anybody from Bridgeport. Shouts out Bridgeport.
I don't know if you knew this, but it's actually an old button factory.
A old what?
Button factory. Is the facility.
Oh really?
Yeah. You can go on the YouTube channel and you could see like them building the facility, and it's crazy, and we're only growing, so it's like that's all it comes down to.
That's some big boy stuff. This is amazing, dude, and that's knowledge that I don't have, so I appreciate you sharing that with us. So that's kind of what you do now. Another big area that you have a lot of experience in, and I don't, is the microgreens farming.
For sure.
I see that I'm on Microgreens TikTok. You guys on Microgreens TikTok?
I don't have TikTok.
It's probably better that you don't. But either way, dude, Microgreens is taking off too, and there's a lot of guys on TikTok who push the $2,000 a week passive income, extra income.
Yeah,
they show the setups. I know enough to be dangerous in the microgreens field, but I had you on here specifically as the expert and to talk about your experience doing this. So, how long did you work in the shipping? This is a shipping container microgreens farm, and how long did you do that?
I did it for around 8 months, I think. But the thing about, and you can relate this to any industry, like, or at any process in life of just like to raise a what can I say this for? You could say this for, let's say, aquaculture. It takes a year to grow fish. It takes a year to go through the entire process, do it all hands on, and raise fish. But for microgreens, these are 2-week turnover things. Like they take tops 2 weeks. So you learn so fast. And to be in that industry and to really be at the helm of it all was an amazing experience. So yeah, I learned a lot. He converted in a shipping container into a vertical farm. And he has big goals, and it's a really cool facility. And something that I'm excited to see grow in the future.
Yeah, dude, it's taken off. It's already growing.
But I was going to say this too. The reason that people are making this on TikTok, because it's easy. Like, it's so easy. It takes two weeks turnover. And because it's so easy and the barrier to entry is so low, that window for this business and really who's going to succeed and who's not is closing fast. Like, it's closing extremely fast. So in the next couple of years, no one's going to be talking about it because it's probably going to be all taken up by people who are already in the industry.
So, when I envision this business model, the marketing, you need good marketing to sell microgreens, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you guys, did you guys do like a CSA? Like, did people come to the shop and buy? Did you deliver to restaurants? What was an effective business model for the microgreens?
Man, it's something that always worked, and what Joe always taught me was just like, you just got to be intimate with people. Like, you just got to be
helpful.
You got to be helpful. You got to be
care.
You have to believe in what you do. And that's why I kind of like my job now, is because I believe in what we do. But you really got to be intimate with people and really take the time to talk to people. You don't need crazy marketing. Obviously, you need to be good at it. You need to be really good at it. But it's just about making connections with people. And that's what I've really learned, is that you can make a small business that has deep, deep roots versus a large business and that can potentially fall after getting investments, So,
so who are the majority of your clients?
Just like people that were concerned about their health. Really,
They showed up to the shop.
Yeah, it was mostly farmers markets. Farmers markets was a big source for us in just getting our names out there from that marketing sense. We sold to a lot of restaurants. That was the majority of our income. Now, retail versus restaurants. Retail, you could just mark up the price more because you're not selling pounds and pounds to them. You're probably selling 6 ounces, 4 ounces, tops 8 ounces. So selling to restaurants, you could sell pounds and pounds and pounds because they use it for toppings, they use it for salads, they use it for shakes. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways.
You know, there's so many pros to the microgreens. The main one, like you said, is just the 2-week turnover, the 10-day turnover.
Can't beat it.
Exactly. You know, but from a home grower standpoint and from a like a hydroponic vegetable production standpoint, I would rather have a tomato than I would 6 ounces of microgreens to eat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I would rather eat the big stuff. You know, microgreens. Yeah, like the microgreens. Like honestly, I wouldn't even grow them at my house. Like I would eat them on salads occasionally, but I would rather grow like 50 feet of tomatoes, and because I can can them, I can give them out to people. I can make 20 different dishes with them. Like it's more sustenance.
Yeah, I'm with
than
you.
Like a few different leaves, but restaurants like them.
Now, before I get into that, I'll say that for microgreens, I actually really, really did enjoy them, and it was a tough start for me because I still agree with you is that tomatoes and cucumbers and onions are just more filling. Like everyone knows them. It's so good.
Can
cook them.
Yeah.
But once I started getting more into microgreens and being around them every day for again a straight 8 months, it was just I put them in my salads. I eventually started making. Not just like putting them alongside lettuce or alongside tomatoes. I started just making microgreen salads, just putting dressing inside of them and eating them straight up. Their flavor is immaculate.
And they're tender.
They're like, tender.
Yeah.
The flavor's awesome. And again, like an onion, how long does it take to grow? Microgreens, you can grow leeks, like micro leeks. And these taste even stronger than onions, in my opinion. And they take a week. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
and zero fertilizer, right?
You can. Microgreens don't need fertilizer because again, I will emphasize over and over again, 2 weeks. So all you're doing is starting the seeds. After you start the seeds and let them grow for a little bit, then you don't really need fertilizer until that 2 week period. After 2 weeks, then you need to add supplement because then at that point they are a plant that needs food.
And you got to soak the seeds before you germinate them, right?
It depends. It depends on the seed. I mean, I think that's just a whole nother concept that people can learn on their own.
Yeah.
But soaking seeds for like pea shoots and for it really depends.
Yeah.
It really depends
on the variety.
Yeah, because it's all about. That's a whole nother. I don't want to go too deep into the like how to grow microgreens because that's a video.
Yeah. What are your favorite varieties? You mentioned that you eat tons of different ones. Like, what are the most tasty ones?
Can we go for like a top 3 or top?
Sure.
Top. Okay. Yeah. I go radish is number 1. I think broccoli is my number 2, and arugula is my number 3.
Wow. And there's a lot of medley seeds that you can get, right?
You could do any seed you want, anything at all. You could do onions, but any seed will work with microgreens because all it is, like I think people get this misconstrued about microgreens is that they're some kind of special seed that you get them from. There's some kind of special fertilizer, no, they're just regular seeds. You can go to the store, buy tomato seeds, and grow tomato microgreens. It's ridiculously easy. I mean, I don't know how good tomato microgreens would be, but
right.
But you can do anything you want, and that's why it's very, very cool and interesting to just play around with it.
There's some unique ones too, like buckwheat, right? Sunflower.
Yeah, you could do wheatgrass. I've done corn. Corn is cool. Corn is really cool.
I think I saw it when I came.
You did. Yeah, you did. Corn is a really cool one, and that's an interesting one. And then what was the other one that I wanted to do? Oh, sunflowers. Sunflowers are, like you were saying, they legitimately taste like sunflowers. Like sunflower seeds. It tastes like sunflower seeds that you get from the store that you buy for like $20 a pound. Like it's ridiculous. And they're phenomenal. Those are my favorite ones by far, but I haven't really eaten them enough, so I'm just really used to the radish and your broccoli.
Yeah.
And your,
Yep.
But yeah, no, you could do anything. Corn, it kind of gets really sweet if you don't expose it to light. Like, it gets really sweet.
I remember. So you guys like tarped it off for like the first week. Is that?
Yeah. So how microgreens work, and this is not any like secret information. You could literally look this up on YouTube. You start the seeds. So there's 3 processes. I'll break this down to 3 steps. Is that you start the seeds, so germination. You put them into blackout, and this is essential for microgreens. If you just put them under light, then they're considered sprouts, and they'll eventually need fertilizer. But you put them under blackout, so no light at all. This lets them stretch and really pushes them to their limit, and really keep all the nutrients that you get from the seed. And yeah, it's just maxing out the greens. And then eventually you put it under light to get that beautiful color and continue growing, and it just comes out amazing.
That's so cool, man. It's like stuff that people don't even think about, you know. I guarantee it. Guarantee they're not thinking about that.
No, I mean, not any regular grower kind of laughs in my face whenever I explain it to them. It's really funny, even at the farmers markets. But I have to explain to them, and especially when I give them samples, or when I used to give them samples, it really was like, oh wow, I can do this at home, like you know.
And when do you turn on the lights for the growing process?
Depends on the crop. It's all dependent on the crop. I mean, just whenever they stretch enough, because if you let them stretch too long, it can get wiry, not so tender as you want them to be. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. If you do it too early, they're not going to stretch as much as you want them to, so there's less greens overall.
Yep.
So you really want to hit that sweet spot, and it really depends on the crop. And eventually you just put them under lights.
Yeah. And can we talk about the size of this? You know, because I went into this container, and you know, I don't know if anybody watching this has been in a shipping container before, but when you're standing in this thing, your arms can reach across almost the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's tight. You know.
Yeah. No, it's
how long is a shipping container? How wide is it? How many levels of trays, and how many trays total?
Oh man,
I know it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So we can. I don't know how many trays total. I mean, someone can do the math out there. But it was over 300 at a time. I mean, the shipping container is 40 feet long.
300?
Easily. Yeah.
And I got to ask, while we're on the subject, a tray of microgreens, average. I'm sure some are more expensive than others. How much is one tray of microgreens?
How much money?
Yeah.
So if you want a cheap one, you could $1 per tray, easy. Like a really cheap one. But if you want to spend more money, and which I recommend doing.
No. Sale price.
Oh, okay. So
if you wholesaled a tray to a restaurant, how much is the tray of radish microgreens?
For sure. So it changes per microgreens, because some microgreens will yield more than others. But what I think should be a golden rule, I mean, maybe it might change because of prices going up, should be like $20 per tray. I mean, is what you want to shoot for. So you can, like if you can get a pound of greens off of a radish tray, and you can sell a pound for $20. If you get a quarter of a pound for a tray of arugula, then you can obviously reduce that. So it really depends, and you could really do $20 for a quarter of an ounce, you know? So it really changes.
Wow.
Yeah, no, trust me, these prices, you will see distributors, you will see people at farmers markets, they go for a lot of money.
Safe to say that you guys have more than $2,000 worth of product in the shipping container at a time.
I'd say so. It is crazy when I think about it now. I mean, I never was behind the numbers, so I don't want to tell you wrong numbers or what kind of numbers I can obviously disclose, but again, this is all just common stuff you can find on YouTube. It's a really lucrative idea, and you don't even have to forget about a shipping container. You can do this in your basement. Like right now, I'm just growing in my living room. Like, yep. I have this cracky like blankets around an area. I have shelves. I have lights, and I'm just doing it by myself. So you don't need a shipping container. You could do it wherever. I mean, and these trays, to put this into perspective, is in a 10-inch by 20-inch space. This is how much space they could take up. And you could each of these trays, let's just say what I said before, $20 per tray. Now multiply this how big your operation you want it to be, and it can be very lucrative.
Absolutely. And if you were to start this in your home, what would you need? You would need a shelf,
Mm-hmm.
and the startup cost would be. Talk about what if somebody wanted to do this at a home setting and what they could do. Type of deal.
You don't need a shelf. Like I know one guy that literally he just does it at home. He raises bees, and he just has a table and he turns on his lights to his basement and they grow.
Like on a workbench.
Yeah, on a workbench. It doesn't matter. I think just the essential things that you need are trays. I mean, I'm not going to dumb it down that much, but I think you need trays. You need some kind of media, whether that's soil. You could do it in soil. There's so many people that do it in soil. Or hydroponics, which I obviously prefer.
And when you do it in hydroponics, what do they grow in, like burlap or something?
You could do it in burlap. I've seen people do it in burlap, but the best thing that I've found that works is either the pre-made, like I've seen hemp mats, which actually work really well. But some people, they do pre-made, like engineered, like mats like that, or you could do coconut husk, cocoa coir.
Yep.
Which is a much, much, much cheaper alternative and can be composted if you really wanted to. I mean, it's an organic substance. It's inert, so it doesn't have any nutritional content, and at the same time, it doesn't have any major bacteria that you're gonna find or any dead stuff that you can find in soil. So the mold, because that's a big problem. That's basically like the only pest in microgreens is mold. You're much less likely to get mold with hydroponics, in my opinion, at least.
So how's the airflow set up in that shipping container for mold prevention and stuff?
You want to hear this?
Yeah.
Fans.
Like
that's it.
Down the aisles.
Both. Everywhere. Yeah. Fans everywhere. You just want air moving. So tiny fans like along the next to the greens, but then you also have huge fans. You don't want to go too crazy with the fans. You just want to get that air moving throughout the facility.
Is there an opening in the shipping container where air can escape?
Nope. It's just constant. I mean, there is you can do ventilation systems are huge, especially for air exchange. Like for what's it called? Humidity, controlling humidity. But at least my container was so set up that all these systems were built into the container. So there really wasn't any need to open the shipping container at all. So it's really, they were just basically like mini sustainable productions that saved water, that saved electricity, that saved so many things. So it was a cool place.
Speaking of water, you guys just got an automatic watering setup, right?
It's always a work in progress. I mean, at least when I was leaving, me and him were like finally building it, and we were finally like finalizing it. But we're constantly working on it. I mean, now I'm sure he's built it out and he's really hammered it down. But there's a lot of different places. You can even look up a lot of different farms that do automatic watering systems. I know there's one in Toronto that I looked at a long time ago that they did automatic watering systems, and this place killed it. So really, it's business by business, your situation by situation. I mean, everyone has different situations, and it all works out differently.
So when you guys do your daily maintenance of the microgreens, do they need watered once a day, twice a day? Do they just need to be wet? How does that work?
Depends. I mean, once a day or twice a day will usually work. I mean, you don't really. Sometimes we did 3, and we did really small, but twice a day, I'd say. 1 in the morning, 1 at night. Or you could just do 1. I mean, it really depends, as long as they just get enough water. Yeah. But twice a day is recommended, I'd say. And they don't need much either. I mean, especially using cocoa, this substance soaks up water so much better than soil can ever do. So really, you're just using all the water,
right?
Constantly.
It keeps it.
Yeah. Yep. So you don't have to worry about a water bill because the plants will take up every little bit of water that is used.
That's awesome, man.
So yeah.
anything else for the mechanics? I know that you don't want to go too crazy on the actual operation of growing microgreens, but
For sure.
anything else that if anyone was considering doing this at home, starting microgreens, what should they know?
Yeah, I mean, and like I said before, you don't have to go crazy. Like, we use a shipping container because that's our business model. That's really what our business wants to stand around and be legitimate. But you could do this so easy at home. You just need some light, whether that's even by your windowsill. You can do it by your windowsill.
Yep.
Put some water in it every day, and you're good. But really, just keep up with it, and yeah, I mean, there's not much. I wish microgreens were more complex, but they really aren't. You plant the seeds and just water them every day, and it is the simplest thing you will ever grow in your life. I never had a green thumb, like a crazy green thumb, before starting to grow microgreens. Like I grew plants and stuff, and I love doing it. But oh man, microgreens are easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a business potential standpoint, if you had to choose aquaponics, hydroponics, or microgreens tomorrow, you're starting your own business. Which one are you choosing?
All right, I'll give you the long, stretched out answer. I will say hydroponics, I'd say, is the most prime for a business, especially if you have a lot of investor backing. If you get an old warehouse, I've seen so many great startups backed by Amazon, by Wall Street Journal, by Google. I've seen it's amazing. It's amazing what people are doing in the hydroponic world. But the only issue with that is the high cost of startup. It just takes a lot of money to get into it. But also, it's just the most versatile. I mean, you could do anything. Aeroponics is fantastic if you really want to get really intimate with it. Deep water culture is fantastic. You can pair it up with and make it into aquaponics. It's so versatile. So hydroponics is definitely a great one for a business. But if you were starting with absolutely nothing and you just want to make money, like I've talked to other farms that say that the only thing that keeps them going through the winter, or at least provides them the most income during the winter, is microgreens. Microgreens, tried and true. You could do this at a large scale, a small scale, whatever it works. It works. It works. And there's a lot of good money in it. And but also at the same time, if you just want to do it at home, do it at home. It's so easy and so fun and delicious. But it's no tomato. So,
I certainly see the culinary, use of microgreens, and I've eaten them too, and they are good. But there's nothing, to my point earlier, just I can turn a tomato into like 20 different things.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
But there's no denying, man, microgreens are fast, profitable, and easy.
I mean, I've even seen. They're great for Instagram too.
That's
why. So fast, easy, and looks amazing. So
100%. Anything else you want to talk about with your shipping container microgreens experience?
I mean, I've said everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much. I wish there was more to talk about. But
no, dude, that's good.
Growing microgreens, doing hydroponics is so easy, and once you get into it, it's gonna be fun.
I love it.
Fun a lot,
and we're gonna continue to have a lot of content on this channel to teach you guys how to do just that. So I made a little list here to close out the show. A game. We're going to just, because I can't think of a clever name, we're just going to call it This or That.
I like it.
And I'm going to just read a statement. I have 6 of them here, 7 of them. And I want you to answer the statement with hydroponics, aquaponics, or microgreens.
Ooh.
And you can keep it simple, or you can elaborate. That's cool, whatever you want to do. But this will be the last segment here, and this is like a fun little thing. So,
heck yeah.
3 choices for your answers. The first statement, easiest to do at home.
Microgreens, I'd say. Just for the sole fact of it, they're easy, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Least labor intensive. I guess those are kind of similar, but
crap. That's a tough one. Do you want me to rapid fire these questions, or do you want me to
take your time as you want? Yeah.
All right. Aquaponics, I think you still have to manage these things, so I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say that. I'd say if you were to automate hydroponics, it would be the best. But microgreens, I'll say again, is the best, just for the sole fact of, they actually, I'll say hydroponics.
Least labor intensive?
I'd say so. I changed my answer just because microgreens, if you leave them for a day, so like if you go on vacation, there's no coming back. That's it. Like they're going to die. It's inevitable. Yeah. Unless you have some kind of automatic watering system, they're going to die. And plus, it's a quick rotation. So if you're not there at that 2-week standing time, they're just gonna kind of overgrow, or they've died already.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say hydroponics.
I love that. Okay. Least upfront cost.
Microgreens. Hydroponics, it's just too much. It depends on what kind of do. Like the cracking method takes no money, like at all. It takes $10 to get started, and some like 10 minutes of time. So that obviously is the least. But microgreens, otherwise, it's just you need a few trays and some soil and some seeds, and you're going. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say if we're talking cracking method, then hydroponics.
You love that. I love that too.
I do.
Just a container and some water, and you're good to go. Yeah. Most productive for food.
Hydroponics. Microgreens is more so for like toppings on a plate. I mean, people eat it all the time. They're really good for your health, but I don't know. I mean, not like you were saying, they're not as filling as like a tomato or a cucumber or a cow. so
aquaponic cows
or a fish. So
shouts out cows, man.
It's shouts out cows. Yeah, I'd say hydroponics is. I mean, aquaponics is cool, but it's not as crazy productive as hydroponics, in my opinion. Sure. Yeah.
Most productive for cash / highest business potential.
Microgreens. I've stated this again. Like it's so good. I'd say the highest potential though is hydroponics. But if you really want to, simple, you want to get into a business and you don't know what to do, microgreens, it will always make you money, especially since most of the time you're doing it indoors. You're not really doing it outdoors. It'll just make you good money. Yeah. That's all it comes down to.
Love that. Got 2 more.
All right.
Funnest, most creative, most enjoyable.
Aquaponics.
Man after my own heart.
I mean, hydroponics is fun. And I think you can attest to this of just like, you can make it whatever the heck you want. Like you can do fun stuff. I mean, my systems at home, if I were to look back, I would be like, wow, those are fun and creative. But back then I was taking it dead serious. So,
yeah.
You could do a lot of things that didn't make it happen, but fun and just like actually enjoying doing it. It's hard work. Don't get me wrong. It is so hard, but it's aquaponics. It's just cool to have fish and plants grow together, and even just to talk about it. It's like
there's so many like home engineered things that we've made out of like buckets and like mattress pads and
oh man,
like that's what I love about it. It's just like what can I need to filter these particles a little bit better. What do I have laying around? Mattress pad. Like it worked, like
oh yeah, no.
That's why I love it. It's kind of just like puzzle. It's like a little tinkering puzzle.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's what's it called? We've done some it's fun. It's fun, I'll say that.
It's always worked out, man.
It's always worked out. But yeah, I mean, hey, we're here. We've done this for a long time. Yeah. So it's like you can't really say much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I say.
Last question here, kind of off that last one. Your most favorite and rewarding greenhouse practice, whatever that is.
Ooh, man.
The thing that gives you the most joy, the most productive, the thing you like growing the most, that sort of thing.
You're killing me here, man. That's a tough one. I mean, aquaponics is fun, and I'll always enjoy that, but it's just so labor intensive that I'm kind of like, maybe not. I'm between that and hydroponics. Microgreens, it's fun, but then after the first few harvests, you're like, all right, I'm done with this, because it's again the same thing every 2 weeks. I'm just like, holy crap, what are we? I just planted this last week. I don't know. I mean, if you want to, if you're ADHD like me and you want to see results fast, microgreens is the thing. Yeah. You get like this buzz off of doing it, and you're like, wow, I just grew this thing. I planted that. I watered it every day and see what it's become. But also hydroponics, sometimes it's not boring. It's just like I don't know. It's a lot of upkeep.
Yeah.
So I'll say thing that gives me is building hydroponics. I'll say hydroponics. I'll just say hydroponics in general. It's tough for me. I love them all, and I think a healthy, diverse of either hydroponics and aquaponics or hydroponics and microgreens or whatever it may be, it would be a fun thing for me. So everything's great. Everything here is great. It has its pros and cons. I mean, I've stayed on the cons bit a little bit too long, but
no, dude.
Trust me, this has been like what I've been doing for like the last 5 years of my life, so almost 6 years now, and I can not regretting it at all. Oh, it's so 100%.
There's nothing I like more than walking into the aquaponics greenhouse, and it's all the deep water culture beds are full of plants. Oh my gosh, it's all bubbling. You can hear like the bubbling in the background, like
that's productivity.
Yeah, I love seeing the productivity, man. Like 400 heads of lettuce, or like 60 heads of 3 different. It's just, I love it when it's a jungle.
Seriously, and especially like to go in there after being like in the dead of winter.
Exactly.
You go in there and you're hit with like this fresh, either tomatoey smell or greens, just like, yeah, no, that's awesome.
It can turn your seasonal depression around real quick.
Seriously, yeah, no, I'm surprised. That's why I'm so friggin' jumpy. But
all right, man, dude, you
seriously
are the man. Like, awesome guest, like so knowledgeable. I hope you continue to stay in these fields because you can like kick butt in whatever direction you choose to go. Any final thoughts for viewers on where you would like them to go to find you, anything that you're involved with, anything like that?
For sure. The one thing I have to say is that you are going to get hit down so much. I mean, even like I said, with 15-year-old me getting slapped down by just constantly failing, or even now, like me going to a restaurant, like, you'll experience this if you're starting a business, and they're just like, nope, get out. And it's like, you're going to be slammed down so much, but it's just getting back up and just doing it again and going to the next restaurant and not saying this is not worth it. Because if you're attesting to all those people on TikTok, if you're attesting to me, if you're attesting to all the other businesses that I've been a part of, microgreens, hydroponics, aquaculture, aquaponics, sustainable food production is like the way of the future. And it's what all young people should be aspiring to. So that's all it comes down to.
Don't quit, people.
Don't quit. I know. I'm real novel here.
No, you're right though. So, all right, awesome, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanner.
Seriously.